Welcome to the Inspiring Victory Show, where we help you double your business, double your impact, and change the world. And we are so lucky that we have Christina Winters with us today. Christina has an extraordinary background. Gal came from a place where people didn't necessarily get up and march off to make their fortune, let alone make it happen successfully. But I can tell you, spoiler alert, she has been able to do just that, not only working successfully in corporate America and in sales and in, big awards for sales, but then also having her own business that she has turned into a very, very, very successful enterprise and eventually sold it for more than anybody would ever have imagined. And now Christina is writing a wonderful book that we'll tell you about in a minute, The Revolution of Achievement, and also is going to be having her own podcast fairly soon. We're excited about also Revolution of Achievement. And it's really exciting to see Christina able to give back to other companies that want to grow and scale and succeed, as well as, sharing from the stage all those, years of wisdom and the many mistakes we all make to get that wisdom. So we're lucky to have you here today, Christina. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. I know the tribe is going to love having you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here today.
Oh, how lovely. How lovely. What do you think is the biggest thing that you have learned over the years? What have you discovered is the number one thing that will lead somebody to success in business?
Business is nothing but problem, crisis. And you may have a reprieve for a little while, but next thing, problem, crisis. It's once you get comfortable with that, you can accomplish anything. I think the biggest challenge that people have, they decide how it's going to look. And if it starts not looking that way, they think there's something wrong. And there's nothing wrong. Everything is going to look different. And every plan crumbles at first light.
Absolutely. That's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah, I think I remember, I've heard from many other people, and I remember myself early in business, I thought, well, other businesses must not have these kinds of problems, only to hang out with other business owners and have them say, oh, yeah, that happens once a month here. And you think, really? And I think you're right. I think it's how do we get comfortable with that, and how do we get great at problem solving? How do we get great in a crisis? How do we get our team to be successful no matter what, and have the inventiveness and innovation to be able to work around problem, crisis, problem, crisis.
Correct.
So yeah, I find that, I think that's a great revelation that most business owners don't really see. And I think they think that everybody else's business is just flowing along perfectly and never has a problem, without realizing that is the true nature of business. Has there ever been anything that happened that really didn't work out that you learned something from that the rest of us can learn from? My theory, which is learn from the mistakes of others, as you don't have time to make them all yourself. Thank you, Bonnie Dean, for the quote. What
right.
has there ever been something that did not go well that we can learn from?
Yeah, I had a manager that I had hired to manage the salespeople, and I had an office in another state, and he would go up there, and this was around the time when there was some legislation that was going to occur that was going to impact our business. And I would ask him every week when he came back from our other office, so how is it going? He said, no problem. We're in. When this transition happens with legislation, we're solid with this other company and you don't have to worry. Okay, that was not the case, because the deadline happened and I got a registered letter the day after telling me, thank you for all the work you've done for us, but you will no longer be needed. We've chosen 2 other companies.
Because he didn't register one simple thing that needed to be registered. Oh my gosh.
And in his mind,
It was
either,
done.
well, obviously I fired him.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
And
because he lied to you.
yes,
That's bad. Yeah.
and my lesson in that was trust, but verify.
Wasn't there a famous president that said that? Trust but verify. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that's
Yes.
so important. That's so
So
important.
now,
Yeah.
whenever I have somebody that is actually doing something in my firm that could be very impactful for us, I just make a little call. Hey, so glad to hear, and whatever that person was telling me, and take the temperature of that response from that person.
hmm So check that the paperwork's been done correctly. Contact the client that they say is going fantastic, and make sure that, again, the temperature is as warm as they are telling you. Well, I think sometimes it comes down to people have it, they get lazy, or they have good intentions, but
Or
they
they
don't
can't
see what's
read.
going on, or they can't read the room like you
Yeah,
can. Yeah, they
that
can't see
that
the,
was his
the danger.
problem.
Yeah.
He was so full of himself and who
Of
he
course
thought
they
he
loved him.
was.
Yes.
Right.
He assumed
So,
everyone loved him.
right,
Aside from his
right.
mother. Right. Got it. Okay, interesting. Wow. Okay, that's a great one. And so it sounds like, yeah, I think we've all hired people and had them break our trust. And then in, maybe smaller ways, you knew it wasn't working out, but you don't want to fire them. But you're right, that's not doing anybody any good. They're not in a role that's right for them. They're not helping you. They could be harming your brand, your company, you personally. And so it doesn't make sense to drag those things on. But we've all done it. And I think once you've done it once or twice, you learn, let people go quickly and let them move on to something that's better, really a
Right.
better fit
I
for them.
call it redirecting their career.
Really nice. Yeah. I think the best compliment I ever got was somebody said, you gave me all of this advice on what I wanted to do long term and what I wanted my career to be. And then I realized about a week later that I'd been fired. And that I was like, uh-huh. And they said, yeah, I somehow felt like I'd gotten a promotion to go do what I always really wanted to do. And I said, oh, good, good. That's an idea. Because, if you say to somebody, you don't seem happy here, you don't seem to love what you're doing, this doesn't seem to suit you particularly. What would you actually really like to do? 99% of the time, they're going to say, yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm just not feeling like this is for me. I'd really rather be doing underwater basket weaving and, the Sahara Desert or whatever. And you go, great. How would you go about doing that? And they fire themselves. So, but yeah, that took me a long time to figure out. And sometimes people's lives change. They may get more complicated at home. They may have other aspirations. They may realize they're not good at what they're doing. And then they want to hide that from you because they don't want to be embarrassed. So I think a lot of things can come up to make that situation a reality for us as leaders. And it's tough, but I like it. Redirect their career because they belong somewhere. It's just not necessarily with you. Interesting. Okay, so what else should we know? The big things we should be paying attention to in our business if we want to have a company that goes on for decades and that is as successful as yours was, and then you sold it so successfully. What do we need to know? What do we need to do? If you had to give us one or
You
two
have to
things.
have somebody that can forecast. You have to have
Um,
somebody that will keep in front of your eyes where we are, where's the goal, where are we incrementally along the way, because whatever you focus on expands. And the more it's in front of your face, the more consistent it is. And of course, always there's got to be accuracy in the process. And as long as you have that, that is on the way up to actually selling my firm. I decided in October of 2017 that I was going to sell my business in 2025. So I hired a company that evaluated my firm and coached me on how I needed to tweak things every single year. And then my COO was the one that gave me all the stats consistently on a lot of different areas. And we would discover, oh, we need to now keep track of XYZ. This is great, but we need to expand the tracking into more smaller increments, because the smaller increments, you know what they say, that everybody does the big things, right? It's the little things that matter, because following up on small instances will help you to catch big problems in their birth, rather than when they're already flowering and destroying something for you.
Great point. I am so incredibly honored to have you as a part of the Inspiring Victory tribe at the Inspiring Victory Show. Please do us a favor. We really need your help. Please like, subscribe, share, write a comment. It makes a huge difference with how many people we can reach here at the Inspiring Victory Show, and it makes a big difference to me personally. I want to make sure that we're providing content to as many people as we possibly can so they can grow and succeed. So we'd love to have you continue your membership here at the Inspiring Victory Show. It's free. Helping us out costs nothing, but it makes a huge difference in how many people we can help. So double your business, double your impact, and change the world. And thank you so much for being a part of this extraordinary community. Thank you. And it was interesting what you said about how you make these grand plans and then they see the light of day and your plans are no longer useful. And yet I know planning is important. You had a firm that was all about planning for financial things. So what if the plan is going to change so dramatically? We all know it does. Is it still important to plan for your business? And if so, how do we do it so that we have enough flexibility to deal with the changes that come along?
That's the key. People get attached to how it's supposed to look.
Okay.
This is how it's going to look. So unless you focus, the only look that is going to be consistent is going to be what kind of desk you want, how you want to do your office. That's fine. But as far as how your business is going to evolve and what's going to occur, like, for example, that guy, because of that, we lost 700 clients like that.
Ouch. Well, I never did that twice, did you? Wow. Oh, that's a
Yes.
real learning lesson.
That was a big lesson.
We don't want to have that happen to anybody we know. It's a terrible thing. But I see where you're going with
And it also affected the two financial planners I had in that office.
Right.
Because now they had no clients.
Ouch. Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
one of them was pretty flexible. The other one, I brought her into the main office and seated her with some clients and supported, because she was very good. And that losing that many clients is very impactful emotionally to a person. So I wanted her close to me so I could be here just to be here and support her in that process. And she flourished.
Well, I think that was very, very smart. Again, you had to pivot to a whole new way of doing things. So the planning part, I think planning is important. But
critical.
But you have to plan with the fact that a lot of the elements in the plan are going to have to change. It's almost like the Buddhist concept of detachment. You make the plan and then you leave lots of space for opportunities to come in, because you don't want to say, oh, we don't want that, we don't want that 2,000 more clients because we have to stick to our plan. So having that space and then detaching a little bit from, like you said, but the plan's supposed to be like this. If you can detach a little bit and say, this is the plan, these are the important parts, maybe how we get to that 5 million, 10 million, 20 million mark may change throughout that year or that 2 years or that 5 years, but it doesn't mean you don't plan. Yeah.
Correct.
Right?
And you have to allow for things to change all the
Yeah. That's the
time.
hard part. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And for example, here's something unrelated to business. I was having a very big birthday party, 200 people, and I had this cake designed. It was white with coconut. It was 3 tiers, and in between the tiers, we had crystallized sugar, like tubes of crystallized sugar.
Wow.
And
Beautiful.
told the baker what I needed. They brought everything. They set the cake up. I walked into the room before the party started, and it looked gorgeous. And then we were going to have sparklers on the top. And as I was looking at it, all of a sudden, fell over. The top 2 tiers fell over. The baker, who was referred to me by somebody that they were really good, they really weren't. They did not understand that you can't use crystallized sugar as the only support for the next tier. You got to have plastic forms behind everything.
Yeah. I've watched enough Cake Boss shows to know that they have those plastic, doohickeys, that rods that go in there. Otherwise the thing falls over. Right.
Right.
They didn't have that. They were watching Cake Boss. Got it.
Correct. So I was initially stunned, angry, felt like I was ripped off, and then I had no time to deal with those emotions. I put them aside. I said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take every one of these crystal towers, they were about that big, and on the bottom part of the cake, we're going to stick them all in like spires. So all 12 of the spires were on one layer of the cake. That's all that was left.
Got to do what you got to do.
Loved it. They just commented, I have never seen anything so creative before.
It was created by necessity. Oh, right. That's hilarious.
That's why when something starts going wrong, you tell yourself, everything works in my favor. And what am I supposed to do? What's next now? All right, this has happened. What's next? What's next? What's next? And you will find the more that you do that, the easier and the faster it comes to you what it is. Because when we're tense, angry, frustrated, revengeful, you can't think. You can't think. You have to give yourself the space to be present. And you can't be present when you're all tight up about what just happened. You got to relax, be present, take a deep breath. What am I doing? Where am I at? What am I thinking? How am I feeling? And that takes as many seconds as it just did when I said it. And then you're present. And when you're present, you can think of what's next because you know what should be done. There's a saying that the creature cannot conceive of an idea it can't achieve. So if you're having the idea about becoming successful, paint your picture and know that that's going to happen because you wouldn't have that idea unless you already had it in you to achieve it, because that's a fact.
That's true. That's absolutely true. I've seen it.
Is an example of it. And you will find this in a lot of very successful business people, that's a fact.
That is a fact. I believe it. I've seen it in every company and every individual I've ever met. They'll say, well, I'm sure everybody wants to, write a book and everybody wants to be on stage and speak. And I'm like, no, they'd much rather read it. And so, the idea that everybody wants what you want. No, I mean, the universe has given you this unique desire because you also have the capacity to do it. And most
Right.
people don't get it and they don't believe it, but you do. And I think that's why you've been able to overcome everything and anything to get where you are, and now helping other companies and other individuals get to the same heights that you've achieved in your business and personal life.
Right.
Wow, that's just stunningly powerful. Stunningly powerful. What?
But it's very simple.
It
And
is
that's
wonderfully simple. I love that.
right.
Yeah, tell me
It's
more.
not easy, though.
I
It's
think
not
most
easy
powerful
to
things are not.
detach,
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
compartmentalize.
Mm-hmm.
And that is critical. I tell my employees, whatever's going on at home or in your community or whatever that's bothering you, when you walk through that door, you got to leave it outside, because that's the only way you can succeed in what you're doing. Learning to compartmentalize various aspects that you're working on. That's what has allowed me also to get involved in the community. And I also make jewelry. And you do those things in their space in your life. When you leave that space, you move to whatever space you're moving to, and you excel at that. And that gives you the ability, two things. It teaches you to be flexible, and also it gives you pause away from something else. So if you're having a really big challenge at home or in your business, when you go to the other side, it gives you a chance to leave that where it is. It is on your mind and you are working on it, but it's not up front. It's kind of like a computer, you have your little tabs on the bottom. You're not working on tab 422, but it's still there and it's percolating, right? So that's how our minds are. Gives us the ability to be able to compartmentalize if you practice it. If you say, oh, I can't do that, well, then you're right.
You have made yourself correct. Yeah.
Whatever you're saying or thinking, you are 100% right. And then you got to ask yourself, is this right thinking really getting you where you want to go? If it's not, then you probably need to change your thinking.
Powerful. Powerful.
We attach meaning to everything. We are meaning machines. This happened, therefore it means this. Well, maybe. Actually, it meant nothing. It just happened. It just happened. So now, what's next? What's next? What's next? Don't put meaning on things unless you're going to put a positive meaning on it. Like that cake. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, that happened. And I remember that so vividly because that's when I finally got, see, it wasn't a business thing that taught me that lesson. It was my personal life that taught me the lesson to recover from a crisis, even though it was just a cake, right?
But when it's a big event and it's a big deal, those small things become big. And I think I see people who also get attached to wanting to feel the emotions that they're having in other parts of their life too. So they're like, but I'm upset about this at home. I need to carry that with me everywhere as some sort of weird badge of honor, rather than, like you said, compartmentalizing to a point where you say, yep, that's not going to go away. When you go home, that problem will still be there with that family member or that friend.
Like an employee that you have that you hear somebody complaining about an employee, and every time you talk to that person, they're complaining about the same employee. Either shut up about that employee and endure it, or redirect their career. Get them out of your space. Open that space up. You're holding on to that employee that is really not giving you what you want. You've given them how many chances you've decided that you're going to do. I do 3. First time, okay, great. What was the breakdown? What did you learn? And what are you putting in place so it doesn't happen again? Happens again, second time. All right. So what your plan was didn't work. What's the new plan? When it happens the third time, that's when I write them up. I said, okay, you're not paying attention here. You can't make the same mistake 3 times. There's something not connecting here. And then you get written up twice, and then they're redirected. Unless it's a crisis thing like that gentleman that lost my firm 700 clients.
He could hardly expect to be kept after that. I mean, that's just, yeah. So there's a threshold beyond, again, I think it's once they violated one of the core values that I have as a human being and that we have as a company, they're gone instantaneously.
Right.
There's no going back from that. But other things you don't want to be too quick. Yeah.
Right. All your things in a box to the left, right?
Exactly.
Beyonce.
Yeah, very Beyonce. Yeah, I love that.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
You cannot do what you do successfully unless you're like oil on water. If you take a glass, one of the things in one of my speeches, I have a glass of water with about 1 inch of oil on the top of it. And this is the eye of the storm, right? Looks like nothing's going on. Throw a spoon in it, mix it up, and everything is jumbled up. People panic during that time. But if they just be present, think clearly. So I set the glass to the side for a minute or 2, and then I bring it back to the audience and say, there you go. It worked out. The oil's all on top. It's not going crazy anymore. You got to trust that that's what's going to happen every single time.
It's brilliant.
All going to work out.
And it always works out for the best. It always works out for everybody's best good. You just have to start convincing yourself to believe that. It is so easy to get swept away with the emotion and not realize that whatever the problem is, there's not one solution. There's 10 solutions. There's a dozen solutions. You can just pick the very best one, but you have to have that calm to be able to do that. And that's what takes some emotional, spiritual discipline to do.
Right.
Do you have
and that takes time to learn all that.
It really, really does. Yeah.
But it doesn't take 20 years.
It doesn't take decades. No, it doesn't.
You can learn it
as you get older. Yeah. I think as you get older, you get a little bit more of that just with maturity. But some of it is discipline and practice and really looking at how am I going to be that calm oil on the water rather than being swept away instantaneously. And that does take
problem.
With the problem.
Next problem.
Right.
And then
if you're going to react that way to every problem, you're going to burn out your team and you're not going to be very successful.
Right.
Long
and you're going to burn yourself out.
Very quickly. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So do you have any last minute advice for up and coming leaders that want to be successful? They want their business to grow. They want to scale their business. I know you do this for a living, helping businesses, but do you have one bit of advice for those up and coming leaders that you want to share?
A coach is critical.
True.
You can never allow yourself to be coached by your employees, your family, your spouse. You got to have somebody outside of what you're in so that they can be totally objective. I have had a myriad number of different coaches because you outgrow your coaches.
Well, you need different kinds of coaching too. I've needed financial coaching to learn how to read a balance sheet better. I've needed speaker coaching, and so different kinds of coaching for different times in your life.
Right.
Also, so it's not
Correct.
that they weren't great. It's just you may need something different than you did 2 years ago or 5 years ago.
Right. Because the plan you had has changed,
and
and
so
now
the needs you have are different.
Right. You need to change with it. That's that pivoting on a dime. You've got to be it. You can't marry the way it's supposed to be or the way I've thought it was going to occur. Because if someone would have told me I would be where I'm at today when I was just starting out, I wouldn't have believed him that my success would be as grand as it has been and how it continues to be. Because I'm flexible and relaxed and able to ascertain what's really going on and making decisions with enough information.
You are a miraculous human being, and the fact that you've come so far and so successfully, and that you give back so much, as the consulting that you do, the mentoring that you do, and the speaking that you do to help others, I find you quite extraordinary, and I adore you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're glad to have you at home and hope you really enjoyed this. I'm sure you did. If you want to check out more about Christina Winters, you can go to her website or also see her on LinkedIn at revolutionofachievement.com and Christina Winters. And she will, I'm sure, have a lot to share with you beyond what you've received today. Thank you for being with us. We want you to always double your business, double your impact, and change the world. Thank you for being a part of the tribe. And again, thank you so much, Christina, for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah.